let the haters bring you down. Just keep going, keep chasing your passions and dreams no matter what. Do not let negative people get between you and your...
Sean Combs' own daughters just exposed the darkest secret of his life, not with words, but by running out of the courtroom gagging while inmates actually cheered like it was some kind of sick celebration. Everyone thought this trial was about justice, that the sentencing would bring closure, until his twins bolted in pure horror. Right in the middle of testimony, their faces twisted in the same fear Cassie Ventura described for years. And somehow, the jury still cleared him of the worst charges. Now, insiders say those girls didn't just hear accusations. They recognized things. The voices, the details, the same twisted stories from those so-called freak-off tapes. Prosecutors even played the audio while their father sat stone-faced as a man described being forced to finish what Diddy started on Biggie's shirt in a warehouse filled with designer clothes. The scene was shocking, and the evidence? Wild. Over 200 bottles of baby oil seized from his mansion, 100 pending lawsuits, and a $20 million payout to Cassie in just one day. Yet somehow, the jury brushed it off as toxic but consensual, while his own daughters couldn't even stand by him during the verdict. The real punishment isn't 50 months. It's that moment when his daughters looked at him and realized the same man who gifted them Range Rovers at 16 might also be the one who allegedly sent flames toward a rival's car just for being connected to their mom. The betrayal was written all over their faces. He even bribed hotel staff to hide the footage of him kicking her in a hallway. And that's just the tip of what's public. The real nightmare? The tapes Netflix refused to show in full. Those are next, and they're said to be way worse. The moment Jesse and Delilah Combs stood up in that Manhattan courtroom and stormed out mid-testimony, everything shifted. The trial stopped being about Sean Combs' legal fate and turned into a full-blown meltdown of his last defense. His own family. Sources inside the courtroom said this wasn't some stage drama for the cameras. The twins didn't just walk out. They ran, hands over their mouths, eyes wide open like they'd just seen something they could never forget. And the timing couldn't have been more haunting. It happened during Daniel Phillips's testimony, the male companion who broke it all down in chilling detail. He described how Combs would allegedly plan what he called freak-offs, multi-day events where women were pressured into performing with hired partners while Combs watched, directed, and sometimes even recorded everything. The air in that courtroom turned heavy. The girls had sat through weeks of shocking stories without flinching, but this moment snapped something inside them. That's when everything stopped making sense. If it was really just toxic but consensual, like the defense kept saying, then why did his own daughters react like they'd just witnessed a horror movie in real life? And why, after all that, did the jury still let him walk on those racketeering charges that could have locked him up for life? Something's not adding up. The verdict itself was pure chaos, a legal contradiction wrapped in a courtroom spectacle. In July 2025, after 8 intense weeks of testimony, the jury found Sean Combs guilty on just 2 counts of transporting individuals across state lines for what they called private life arrangements, each carrying up to 10 years behind bars. But somehow, they let him walk on the heavy hitters: racketeering, conspiracy, and human trafficking. It stunned everyone watching. Prosecutors had built their entire case on the claim that Combs was running a secret criminal network, a full-on enterprise using his own team to set up and cover up these wild events. But the jury didn't buy it. According to legal experts, they couldn't quite wrap their heads around the idea that Combs' employees were knowingly involved in it all. Basically, the jury believed the horror stories: Cassie Ventura's decade-long account of abuse, the companion's disturbing details of coercion.
Anyway, I'm happy to go. So we think that's just absolutely inconsistent with the jury's verdict. I mean, the jury's verdict was resoundingly clear. There was no trafficking, there was no racketeering, everything was consensual, everything was adult, which is why he was convicted only of the offense. What we feel happened today was that the judge acted as a 13th juror, one that we did not choose, and that he second-guessed the jury.
Even the hotel staff's confessions about being paid to erase footage, but still didn't think it counted as an organized crime ring. And here's where everything starts to twist. If this wasn't a coordinated setup, how do you explain the mountain of evidence? Over 200 bottles of baby oil, 900 containers of intimate lubricants found across his homes, and an alleged $100,000 payment to a hotel guard just to make that hallway footage of him kicking Cassie disappear? According to court documents, these freak-offs weren't random at all. They followed a script so specific that participants said it felt rehearsed, like a dark routine on repeat. Then came the sentencing, 50 months, the maximum for those lesser charges. but just a fraction of what prosecutors demanded. It felt like justice only halfway served, a verdict that left the whole courtroom stunned and the public boiling with disbelief. Judge Arun Subramanian called it a significant sentence meant to send a message, a deterrent to others. But come on, let's be honest. This wasn't really about deterrence at all. This was the last card the legal system could play against a man who'd spent decades moving like the rules didn't apply to him. In his letter to the judge, Combs wrote, "I lost my way. My downfall was rooted in my selfishness." But it read more like a script than a confession. The words of someone coached to sound sorry, not someone who actually felt it. Meanwhile, Cassie Ventura's statement hit the courtroom like a thunderclap. Her words were raw and shaking with fear. "I am so scared that if he walks free, his first actions will be swift retribution towards me and others who spoke up." That wasn't paranoia. It was survival. And the fear she spoke of, it wasn't imaginary. Back in 2023, Combs paid Cassie $20 million to settle her lawsuit in under 24 hours. Not out of guilt, but to buy silence. That move said everything. Now, with the verdict handed down, the question isn't if he'll try to get even. It's who's going to step up and protect the people still brave enough to stand against him. But here's the real sting. The real damage didn't come from the judge's words or the years on paper. It came from what followed, or more accurately, what didn't. Combs' empire, once seen as untouchable, bad boy records, the drink deals, the luxury endorsements, all started to crack the moment those twins walked out. The carefully crafted image of a self-made mogul collapsed right there in front of the world. His staff, all managed by TreeStar Sports and Entertainment, suddenly started seeing their paychecks vanish, either delayed, short, or missing entirely. Even the high-priced attorneys juggling his pile of civil lawsuits reportedly went unpaid. One staff member couldn't take it anymore and quit right before sentencing, after the family tried to organize a simple dinner and TriStar denied their request for funds. They were told to submit an invoice like they were just regular vendors. Imagine the humiliation. This was a man who used to move millions with a single phone call, and now his own team treats him like a financial liability. The fall couldn't be louder. His Holby Hills mansion, the one with the private grotto pool, the top-tier recording studio, and the wild parties people still whisper about, was raided by federal agents in March 2024. They found controlled substances, weapon parts, and enough intimate products to fill a small pharmacy. That same mansion sat on the market for over a year, listed at a staggering $61.5 million, before quietly being pulled in December. Nobody wanted to touch it. And can you blame them? Who would buy a place forever tied to the very private life arrangements that led to his conviction? Even his famous neighbors, Jennifer Lopez and Kylie Jenner, must be having the most uncomfortable conversations imaginable. But here's the twist. The silence surrounding that house is louder than anything said in court. Because there's one part of the story no one's daring to talk about, the basement. Federal agents took everything they could see upstairs. The substances, the weapons, the piles of other evidence. But the basement, that's the part that keeps people up at night. Former staffers whisper about it. The soundproofed rooms, the locked doors, the places no one ever searched fully. And now that the mansion's been taken off the market.
The feelings that I have about the documentary, it was just old news, and they took a couple of with the footage from Puff from the days that's leading up him to get arrested, the incidents with the people from the courts, you know, the two people from the courts. So it was nothing new.
The real question isn't just what's down there. It's who's making sure it stays buried in silence. Because if the feds missed anything the first time, you can bet someone's making sure it never sees daylight again. And whoever that person is, they're definitely not doing it for free. Nothing about this chaos is new. But what came next flipped the whole story on its head. Then came the Netflix documentary, Sean Combs, The Reckoning. Dropping in December like a cultural explosion, it was executive produced by none other than 50 Cent, a man who's been beefing with Combs for over 20 years. The tension between them has always been messy, but this was payback on a global stage. Netflix called the footage legally obtained, showing Combs in the days leading up to his arrest, pacing, sweating, and whispering to his lawyer, "We have to find somebody who will work with us." The dirtiest of dirty media propaganda. That single line sent the internet into a frenzy. But the documentary didn't stop there. It went way beyond the courtroom drama. It dropped bombshell after bombshell, accusing Combs of being linked to two of hip-hop's most haunting mysteries, the murders of Tupac Shakur and the notorious B.I.G. The series backed up its claims with old police files, secret memos, and chilling interviews from former associates who swore they knew more than they ever said before. The most jaw-dropping moment came from Dwayne Keefe D. Davis, the same man charged in Tupac's assassination, who claimed in a 2009 police interview that Combs offered him $1 million to handle the problem. It's a claim Combs has always denied, but the timing? Too sharp, too coincidental, and way too explosive to ignore. The documentary dropped right as Sean Combs sat behind bars, a timing that couldn't have been colder. His daughters were being harassed non-stop online, while his sons scrambled to piece together their own defensive docuseries for Zeus Network. This isn't just a courtroom fight anymore. It's a full-blown cultural execution. Every headline, every meme, every post feels like another nail in the legacy he tried so hard to build. And now people are starting to ask the real questions. If the jury didn't buy the racketeering charges, then why is the whole world acting like they did? Why are so many strangers suddenly acting like they personally knew him and his sins? Inside Fort Dix prison, the inmates cheering aren't just mocking a fallen mogul. They're celebrating one of their own, a man who lived by a code they recognize. And those internet trolls flooding the Combs twins pages with 50-cent memes, they're not just harassing teenagers. They're sending a chilling message. Your father's sins are now your legacy. Even his legal team can't escape the chaos, struggling to get paid, arguing over invoices, begging for retainers that never come through. That's not just bad money management. That's the sound of a collapsing empire, realizing its king has nothing left in the vault. And the true reckoning isn't playing out in courtrooms anymore. It's in the quiet spaces, the deleted Instagram comments, the calls from old friends that never get answered, the empty silence from people who used to fight for him. Even his son's documentary trailer looks less like a defense and more like a eulogy in motion. But the most heartbreaking reaction? It came from the one place Combs thought he still had control, his own family. Christian and Justin Combs, his sons, dropped a bomb of their own in December, announcing a brand new docuseries set to premiere in 2026. The trailer opens with the two of them watching clips from the trial. Their faces blank, their eyes heavy, before a collect call from their father cuts through the silence. It's clearly their attempt to rewrite the story, to remind the world who Sean Combs used to be. A hip-hop pioneer, a generous donor, a devoted father. But here's the catch. Nobody's buying it. Not when the twins have their comments turned off, not when that infamous mansion still sits empty and unsellable, and definitely not when the only people still cheering for Combs are the ones locked up beside him. Legacy isn't about what you say you are. It's about what you did. And right now, what Sean Combs did is sitting in a federal cell while the rest of the world keeps spinning without him. And except it's not really over, because those tapes, the ones Netflix didn't air, are still out there somewhere. The ones some employees might have hidden. The ones that could finally explain why his daughters ran from that courtroom, why the jury hesitated, and why that mansion basement was never fully searched. The secrets buried in those recordings might be darker than anything the trial ever revealed. And if 50 Cent gets his way, those tapes will see daylight. The only real question isn't if, it's what happens when they do. Because this trial already proved one thing loud and clear. The law has limits, but the court of public opinion, that's a different beast entirely. And right now, that jury's still wide open. And they're not done judging. The warehouse in LA, the one where Sean Combs allegedly used Biggie's t-shirt, isn't just another random location in this twisted story. It's the missing piece that links those so-called private life arrangements to something way darker. Sources with direct knowledge describe it as a chilling scene. Racks of clothing from Combs' past, including personal items that once belonged to the notorious B.I.G., all lined up like relics in some kind of shrine gone wrong. But this wasn't a simple storage space. It was a stage. The claim that Combs grabbed that legendary shirt, used it in the disturbing way the lawsuit describes, then tossed it aside while saying, R.I.P. Biggie, paints a horrifying picture. This wasn't about pleasure. It was about power, about corrupting something sacred just to prove he could. And here's the question no one's daring to ask. If he was willing to do that to a deceased friend's clothes, what might he have done to the living? The lawsuit says this happened in September 2020, long after those infamous freak-off parties were supposed to be over. So what does that mean? Either this was a one-time fall into something even darker, or it proves the behavior never really stopped. And if that's true, it changes everything, because the pattern doesn't stop at that warehouse. It stretches all the way back to the early 90s, when Combs was building Bad Boy Records and earning his rep as hip-hop's ultimate kingmaker. That era was filled with secrets and whispers. And the biggest crack in his empire came during the 1994 Quad Studio shooting, when Tupac Shakur was ambushed and shot 5 times. Shakur later said in interviews that he believed Combs had a hand in setting him up, claiming he had proof, but never showing it publicly. Now, looking back, that moment feels like the start of a decades-long trail, one that leads straight to the chaos unraveling today. Fast forward to 2024, and suddenly Dwayne Keefe D. Davis, the man officially charged in Tupac Shakur's killing, drops a bombshell in a leaked police interview. He claimed that Sean Combs once offered him $1 million to handle the problem. Now, with the Netflix documentary putting that claim right in front of millions, the question isn't just whether Combs was connected. It's whether the whole thing was part of a system of control. Because when you look at the pattern, the way he allegedly used fame, opportunity, and fear like weapons, it starts to sound less like business and more like manipulation on a massive scale.
That he has with others, and just because no one else has been charged, which normally in a RICO case, you would have others charged. It was a statute that designed to get mob bosses, trying to get at criminal behavior that's like a web of criminal behavior that you can't necessarily prove, like the one thing or the statute of limitations expired on the other thing, but you're just showing this bad guy who's operating what's clearly an enterprise that over and over engages in criminal problems or criminal acts.
He surrounded himself with people who needed him, artists chasing careers, employees clinging to paychecks, and he allegedly kept everyone quiet, either through intimidation or cash. The line between business deals and dark coercion completely blurred. And that's before you even touch the stories about those parties. The ones insiders now describe as carefully staged productions where every move, every rule was dictated by one man, Combs himself. These weren't random gatherings. They were orchestrated scenes with choreography, lighting, and security, all designed to keep control and keep secrets. What makes it even more chilling is how this same structure mirrored his empire. The racketeering charges didn't stick because the jury couldn't prove his employees knowingly took part. But here's the truth that insiders whisper. In Combs' world, you didn't need to be told outright what was going on. You just had to understand your place. The makeup artists, the assistants, the security guards, they weren't just doing their jobs. They were moving pieces in a machine where asking questions wasn't forbidden. It was dangerous. It was dangerous. And that danger didn't stop with his business. That same machine of control bled right into his family. You can see it now. His son's rushing to produce a documentary trying to rewrite history while his daughters are forced to disable comments on their posts just to escape the nonstop wave of online attacks. This isn't just a family under stress. It's a family built on control. And now that control is slipping, the cracks are showing for the world to see live and unfiltered. And then there's the music industry. Silent as ever. Where are the statements from the artists Sean Combs made famous? Where are the collaborators who rode his wave to the top? The executives who looked the other way for years? Not a word from any of them. Because in the world of hip-hop, loyalty isn't only about respect, it's about survival. And survival right now means staying quiet, pretending none of this is happening. But here's the truth. The internet doesn't forget. Those tapes don't vanish. And the people who were hurt, they're not staying quiet anymore. Cassie Ventura's lawsuit might have been settled in just 24 hours, but she still took the stand. She still spoke. The male companions who described those freak-offs didn't just share rumors. They gave details, step by step. And then there's the hotel staff, the ones who allegedly accepted payments to hide security footage. They might end up being the ones who bring the biggest damage of all because they weren't part of the inner circle. They saw everything from the outside, and that makes their truth impossible to spin. They were just regular people, employees, witnesses, bystanders, who saw too much. And now, after years of silence, they're finally realizing they don't have to keep quiet anymore. The real reckoning isn't coming from the courts or the headlines. It's happening right now, as the story gets rewritten in real time. And it's not Combs or his team controlling that story anymore. It's the people who were actually there. When his daughters broke down in that courtroom, that reaction wasn't just about what they heard, it was about what they recognized. That look in their eyes told the whole story. The jury's decision to clear him on the worst charges wasn't just a legal loophole. It was proof the system is still broken, and now the floodgates are opening. His own former employees are stepping up, not just with lawsuits, but with stories. This isn't just about money. It's about the dam finally breaking open after decades of pressure.
The court reaches few conclusions. 135 months would be more than necessary. A sentence over 11 years is not reasonable. Even the probation department recommends a sentence less than half of that, but 14 months time served would not be sufficient. A judge says,
for years, one man controlled the narrative. Every headline, every soundbite, every image carefully crafted to keep the truth buried. But now, that control is gone. The story belongs to the people who were in the room when the cameras were off, the ones who saw what really went down. And that's the part Combs never planned for. Even his Holby Hills mansion has become more than a property. It's a symbol, a 17,000 square foot monument to excess and secrets. That basement, the one that was never fully searched, looms like a mystery of its own. The recording studio, who knows what was captured in there? What sounds, what confessions, what evidence? The whole place has become toxic, a reminder of everything that went wrong. And the fact that it's been pulled off the market twice isn't just bad luck or bad press. It's because nobody wants to live inside a house where the walls might still be holding secrets. And that's the thing about secrets. They never stay buried forever. They don't stay buried forever. Not secrets, not truth, not the things people swore they'd never talk about. The federal agents might have taken everything they could see. The substances, the weapon parts, the piles of lubricants. But the basement, that hidden one with the soundproof rooms everyone whispers about, that's the part still out there, waiting in the dark. And if the feds missed something during the first raid, you can bet someone's out there right now, making sure it never surfaces again. But here's the problem. In an era of leaked footage, angry ex-employees, and insiders with receipts, nothing stays hidden forever. Not the tapes, not the basement, not whatever really went down inside that LA warehouse. And that's what makes this entire story so chilling. The most damning part isn't even the accusations themselves. It's how perfectly every piece connects. Think about it. The Quad Studios shooting in 1994 ties into the Tupac claims, which ties straight into the warehouse incident, which ties back to the way his daughters ran out of court shaking. It's a line of events that paints a picture nobody wanted to see. Those freak-off parties, they weren't just about wild private life. They were about power, about showing he could control anyone, anytime, if the price was high enough. And now, as his sons try to rewrite the story with their glossy new documentary while his daughters hide from online hate, you can see it clear as day. This isn't just a broken family. It's a family divided by truth. The same legacy that once looked unstoppable is now cracking under its own weight. The mansion, the tapes, the lawsuits, the silence, it's all part of the same puzzle. Because no matter how deep the secrets go or how long they've been buried, the truth has a way of clawing its way back to the surface. And when it does, it's never quiet. Because you can't be both. You can't be a loving father and a predator. You can't be a mogul and a manipulator. You can't build an empire on control and then act shocked when the very people you controlled start speaking up. The double life that Sean Combs tried to balance is finally tipping. And it's collapsing in real time. That's exactly where things stand now. The legal war might be over, but the cultural battle is only just beginning. The inmates at Fort Dix can celebrate all they want, but outside those prison walls, the world is moving forward, and it's dragging what's left of Combs' reputation straight into the mud. Every new headline, every leaked clip, every whisper from someone who used to work for him adds another crack to what's left of his image. Sure, his son's upcoming documentary might try to paint him as a misunderstood genius, a man whose vision was twisted by the media. But Netflix already set the tone, and it's a far darker one. The narrative has shifted, and there's no undoing it now. That empty mansion of his might look quiet from the outside, but the stories tied to it are screaming louder than ever. And those tapes, the ones Netflix refused to air in full, the ones insiders claim his staff still hold on to, they're still out there somewhere. The same tapes that might finally explain why his daughters bolted out of that courtroom in shock, they're not gone. They're waiting, ready to surface when the world least expects it. And when they do, the final piece of this story might be even darker than anyone imagined. So here's where we leave it, with a man who once controlled everything now sitting in a prison cell, completely powerless, while the story he tried to silence spins out of his control. The same man who built his empire on domination is now watching it crumble from the inside out. His family stands divided. some still clinging to the myth, others unable to unsee the truth staring them in the face. The industry that once praised him has gone quiet. And the public? They're finally asking the questions everyone avoided for years. The legal system might have handed Sean Combs 50 months, but the court of public opinion? That's a whole different battle. And it's nowhere near finished. The silence, the leaks, the rumors, they're all adding fuel to a story that's only getting louder. The world's watching, dissecting, and deciding who the real Combs is. The mogul who shaped music, or the man whose empire was built on secrets. Now, it's your turn. Do you think the jury got it wrong? Will those hidden tapes ever see the light of day? Or is this just another story of power protecting itself one last time? And what about that moment in court, when his daughters ran out? Was that pure shock? Or did they finally recognize the truth for themselves? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and join the conversation. Because this story isn't over yet. And trust me, the next chapter might be even wilder. Stay sharp.